Even though there's something hidden that wasn't said about the story of Yusuf and his master wife who tried to seduce him, but the Holy Quran had revealed everything to us. The beautiful wife of a high-ranking official sets her sights on a young, innocent servant, Yusuf. Her desire for him is strong, but Yusuf's faith in Allah is stronger. Trapped in a room with no way out, he faces temptation that could change his life forever. Will he give in to her advances, or will he choose the path of righteousness, no matter the cost? The struggle between temptation and faith reaches its breaking point, and the consequences will shock you. I'm sure you want to know what about to Yusuf, and this is the right video for you. Please help us grow by liking and sharing this video. Tell us where you are watching from. The Gospel of Allah must be shared across all nations, and if you are ready, let's get into the video. The golden sun rose slowly over Egypt. Its warm light spread across tall palm trees, shining rivers, and the great palaces of the city. The sky was pink and orange, and the city was waking up. People opened their windows, servants rushed through courtyards, and horses pulled shiny chariots down the streets. But inside one special palace where silk curtains danced in the breeze and marble floor sparkled, something strange was happening. Whispers. Soft, sneaky, giggling whispers. Inside a hall full of golden chairs and silver plates sat a group of rich noble women. Their dresses flowed like rivers, covered in tiny jewels. Their hair was tied in braids with golden pins. Their fingers were covered in rings that sparkled like stars. Servants walked around them, pouring sweet juice into crystal cups. But the women weren't paying attention to the drinks or the food. They were too busy whispering. "Did you hear?" one said, leaning in close. "What?" another asked, pretending not to care, but her eyes were shining with curiosity. "The wife of Al-Aziz, the ruler of the house," the first woman said. "She's fallen in love." The second woman gasped. "With her husband?" The first woman shook her head and smiled. "No, not her husband. Her servant boy." Another woman dropped her cup. A fourth covered her mouth to hide her laugh. "You mean that Hebrew boy? The young one they found at the market years ago?" "Yes," said the first, now grinning. "The one with the pretty face." The room filled with laughter. High, sharp, hiss-like laughter. It bounced off the walls like tiny snakes slithering across the marble floor. "She's crazy," one said. "She's a queen, and he's a slave," said another. "How can she fall in love with someone like that?" another sneered. But they didn't know. They didn't know that Prophet Yusuf was not just a handsome boy. He was someone special. Someone chosen by Allah. Years ago, Yusuf had been thrown in a well by his jealous brothers. He had been taken far from home, sold in Egypt, and bought by Al-Aziz himself. But even as a servant, Yusuf was kind, gentle, and full of wisdom. He worked hard. He helped everyone. And his heart always remembered Allah. He grew into a young man, strong and beautiful. His face was so bright, it looked like the moon. His eyes were calm like a quiet lake. His smile made people feel peace inside their hearts. Even though he was just a servant, the palace glowed brighter when he walked through it. And that's when the trouble began. The wife of Al-Aziz started watching him. At first, from far away. Then more and more closely. She watched the way he spoke, how he moved, how his eyes stayed lowered. She saw the light in his face. And a dark thought began to grow in her heart. She wanted him to love her. But Yusuf did not look at her the way other men did. He was kind but never playful. Gentle but never flirty. He was respectful but he kept his eyes lowered, always remembering Allah. The wife of Al-Aziz, though beautiful and powerful, felt angry. Why didn't he look at her? Why didn't he want her attention? She had everything: jewels, servants, power, but this servant boy. He didn't care. So she began to plan. And outside her golden walls, the noble women kept whispering. "I bet she's trying to make him love her," said one. "She's gone mad," said another. "We must see this Yusuf ourselves," said a third. "He must be very special." They laughed again. But this time a little nervously. Because deep inside, each of them was curious. What kind of servant could make a queen forget her crown? Far away, in another part of the palace, Yusuf stood in the garden. He was watering the trees. Birds chirped above him. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at the sky. "Ya Allah," he whispered softly, "keep me safe. I only want to please you." He had felt it, the eyes watching him. The strange silences. The footsteps that stopped when he turned around. the coldness in the air when he walked past certain rooms. Something was coming. A test. A very hard one. But Yusuf trusted Allah. He didn't know that behind one of those walls, someone had already locked all the doors. He didn't know that footsteps were coming quiet, fast, and full of trouble. And he didn't know that soon he would have to run not just with his feet, but with his heart. The doors were locked. Every single one of them. Yusuf stood quietly, holding a tray in his hands, as the wife of Al-Aziz stared at him with eyes full of desire. She smiled, slow and strange. "Come closer," she said softly. "Sit with me." Yusuf felt uneasy. "I need to go," he replied. "There is still work to do in the garden." She stepped closer. "The garden can wait. I want you here, with me." Yusuf lowered his gaze. "My lady, please? I am only a servant." "You are more than a servant," she whispered. "You are beautiful. No one is watching. No one will ever know. Just stay." Yusuf's heart pounded in his chest. "I seek refuge in Allah. My master has treated me well. I will not betray his trust. Those who do wrong will never succeed." But she wouldn't stop. "I love you," she said. "Don't say no to me. I will never do something my Lord does not like," Yusuf said. In a sudden burst, she rushed toward him. Her hand grabbed his shirt from behind as he turned to escape. He pulled away, and the cloth tore. She held the ripped piece as he ran to the door. And at that exact moment, the door opened. There stood Al-Aziz. Before Yusuf could speak, the woman cried out, pretending to be hurt. "What should be done to someone who tried to harm your wife?" she said. Yusuf's voice was calm but firm. "She is the one who tried to harm me. I only ran away." A voice spoke from within the household, someone who knew the truth. "If his shirt is torn from the front," the voice said, "then she is telling the truth. But if it is torn from the back, then he is." They looked. The shirt was torn from the back. Al-Aziz turned to his wife. "This is from your own plan," he said. Then to Yusuf, "Let this matter go." He looked at his wife again. "And you, ask for forgiveness. You were wrong." Yusuf said nothing more. His eyes stayed low. His heart stayed pure. But behind the palace walls, whispers were growing louder. The story was spreading. The noble women were talking. And something even stranger was about to happen next. The whispers in the city grew louder. The noble women were talking. They sat in their fancy houses, wearing silk and gold, holding fruit in their soft hands, laughing behind closed doors. "Did you hear what Zulaikha did?" one of them said. "She tried to trick her servant," said another. "A servant?" They giggled. "How shameful." They blamed her. They made fun of her. They looked down on her. But they hadn't seen Yusuf. They didn't know how special he was. They didn't know that Allah had made him beautiful, not just on the outside, but inside too. His face was full of light. His eyes were gentle. His heart was clean. Zulaikha heard their whispers. She heard their laughter. And her heart burned with pride and anger. "They blame me," she said to herself. "But wait until they see him. Then they'll know why I felt the way I did." So she sent out invitations. One by one, the noble women were called to her house. They arrived dressed in their best clothes. Zulaikha welcomed them kindly. She gave them soft cushions to sit on. She handed them knives and gave them fruit to peel, sweet oranges, juicy pomegranates, fresh figs. They laughed and talked while slicing the fruit. Then, without saying a word, Zulaikha called Yusuf into the room. The moment he walked in, the women froze. Their eyes widened. Their hands trembled. Some dropped their fruit, and as they stared at Yusuf's face, they didn't even feel their hands slip. They cut themselves without knowing. A few gasped in pain. A few cried out. Blood touched the fruit. But they were still staring. "This is not a man," one woman whispered. "This is an angel." Zulaikha watched them, a bitter smile on her lips. "This is the one you blamed me for," she said. "You laughed at me. You mocked me. But now you've seen him with your own eyes." The women were silent. Their pride was gone. Zulaikha looked at Yusuf and said, "I tried to make him listen to me, but he refused. If he doesn't do what I say, he will be thrown into prison. He will suffer." Still, Yusuf said nothing. His heart was strong. He didn't want to do wrong. Not even if powerful people threatened him. Not even if they laughed or got angry. He didn't want their love. He only wanted the love of Allah. So while others cut their hands, Yusuf held on to his faith. He knew a bigger test was coming. But he was ready, because Allah was always with him. The room was quiet now. The women had left, their fingers still sore from the cuts. Their laughter had turned into silence. Their mocking had turned into shame. But Zulaikha stood tall. Her eyes were still fixed on Yusuf. She didn't like being refused. She didn't like being told no. Again and again, she and the other women tried to make Yusuf do what they wanted. They spoke sweet words. They offered him comfort. They said, "Just listen to us. No one will know. You're only a servant. What can you lose?" But Yusuf refused. Every time, his heart was filled with the love of Allah. He couldn't be tricked. Not by beauty. Not by power. Not by threats. One night, Yusuf stood alone in his room. The moonlight touched the walls. His hands were raised in dua, his eyes full of tears. He whispered to his Lord, "O Allah, I would rather go to prison than do what they ask of me. If you don't help me stay strong, I might listen to them. My heart might slip, and then I would become one of the wrongdoers." He begged Allah to protect him, not just from danger, but from sin. And Allah heard him. Allah always hears the one who calls with a pure heart. Yusuf's heart became firm. The fear melted away. He felt peace inside, even though he knew what was coming next. Because sometimes, choosing the right path means walking into something hard. And that's exactly what happened. The noblemen of the city spoke together. They knew Yusuf had done no wrong. They knew the women had lied. But they also knew their wives would not stop talking. The whispers would not stop. So they made a decision. "Let us put Yusuf in prison," they said. "Just for a while. So the people will forget." And they did. Yusuf was taken from the palace. His hands were tied, but his head was high. He didn't cry. He didn't shout. He didn't ask, "Why me?" He walked with calm steps, like someone who already knew something better was waiting. The prison gates opened with a loud creak. The stone walls were cold and grey. The floor was hard. The light was dim. But Yusuf's heart was full of light. Even in that dark place, he did not forget Allah. He remembered him more than ever. He prayed. He helped others. He listened to their problems. He gave kind words. Even the guards began to notice. The other prisoners called him the good man, the truthful one, the one who never lies. He brought light into a place full of shadows. Because even if people took away his freedom, no one could take away his faith. Yusuf didn't know how long he would stay in prison. But he was not afraid. He knew that when you trust Allah, every dark room becomes a place of blessings. And little did he know, this prison was not the end. It was the beginning of something much, much greater. Because Allah had a plan for Yusuf. Days passed, then weeks, then months. Yusuf stayed in the prison, far from the golden halls of the palace. The walls were made of stone. The windows were small. The doors were heavy with iron. But Yusuf was not sad. He didn't complain. He didn't grow angry. He was kind to everyone. He helped the sick. He shared his food. He listened to those who had no one else to talk to. People in the prison began to feel peaceful around him, like something warm was shining from inside his heart. Then, one night, 2 new prisoners were thrown into the cell with Yusuf. One was the king's cupbearer. The other was the king's baker. They looked tired and afraid. That night, both of them had strange dreams. The next morning, they rushed to Yusuf. "We heard you are a good man," said the cupbearer. "We had dreams that are making us afraid. Please tell us what they mean." Yusuf looked at them with calm eyes. "I can help you," he said, "but remember, the power to explain dreams comes only from Allah." The 2 men nodded. They sat quietly. The cupbearer went first. "I dreamed I was pressing grapes into wine, and I gave it to the king," he said. The baker spoke next. "I dreamed I was carrying bread on my head, and birds came and ate from it." Yusuf thought for a moment. Then he smiled gently. "I will tell you the truth," he said. He looked at the cupbearer. "You will go back to your job. You will serve wine to the king again, just like before." The cupbearer's eyes lit up with joy. Then Yusuf turned to the baker. His face grew serious. "As for you," he said softly, "you will be punished. The birds will eat from you, just like you saw in your dream." The baker's face turned pale. He lowered his head. And just as Yusuf said, both dreams came true. The cupbearer was taken out of the prison and returned to the king's palace. The baker was taken out and never came back. As the cupbearer left, Yusuf walked beside him. "Please," Yusuf said, "when you stand before the king, mention me. Tell him about the one who was innocent but thrown into prison." The cupbearer nodded quickly. "I won't forget," he promised. But when he walked into the palace, with gold and music and smiling faces all around him, he forgot. Days passed, then weeks, then years. And Yusuf remained in the dark cell. But Allah had not forgotten him, because far away, in the king's palace, something strange was about to happen. One night, the king himself had a dream. He saw 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 skinny cows. He saw 7 green stalks of grain and 7 dry ones. The king woke up, frightened. What does this mean? He asked his wise men, but none of them knew. It's just a mixed-up dream, they said. It means nothing. Still, the king could not forget it. And then after all those years the cupbearer remembered. I know someone who can explain dreams, he said. A truthful man. In the prison the king's eyes lit up. Bring him to me, he said. And deep in the prison, Yusuf was still praying, still waiting, still trusting, but now, the door was about to open. The footsteps were coming. His time was near. Not just to leave the prison, but to change all of Egypt. The prison doors slammed open. Footsteps rushed down the stone steps. A voice called out, echoing through the halls. Yusuf, come quickly. The king is asking for you. Yusuf looked up. After all those years in the dark, the light had come. But he didn't rush. He didn't leap up with pride. Instead, he spoke calmly. Go back to the king, he said, and ask him, what happened to the women who cut their hands? The truth must be known before I leave this place. He wanted the truth to shine, not just for himself, but for everyone. The guard blinked in surprise, then turned and ran back. Soon, the king sat with Zulaikha and all the noble women. His voice was strong. Tell me, he said, what happened when you tried to tempt Yusuf? The women looked at one another. Then they looked down. They had no lies left. They spoke together. We saw no evil in him. He is a man of truth. Then Zulaikha stepped forward. Her voice was quiet, but her words were clear. It was me. I was the one who tried to tempt him. He told the truth. I lied. The king listened. His eyes narrowed. His heart believed. He sent his guards again. Bring Yusuf, he said, and bring him with honor. This time, Yusuf walked out of the prison gates free. The sun hit his face. The breeze touched his skin, and all of Egypt watched. He stood before the king, tall and calm. The king said, Yusuf, I heard you explain dreams. Tell me, what does my dream mean? Yusuf nodded. The 7 fat cows being eaten by the 7 thin cows, it means there will be 7 years of good food in the land. Then 7 years of hunger will follow. If you save during the good years, you'll have enough when the hard years come. The king's eyes sparkled. And after that, Yusuf added, will come a year full of rain, and people will have plenty again. The king stood up from his throne. This man is full of wisdom, he said. I trust him. He looked straight at Yusuf. From today, you will be in charge of all the food in Egypt. You will guard it. You will lead. You are now one of the most powerful men in my kingdom. And just like that, Yusuf, the boy who was thrown into a well, the slave who was blamed, the prisoner who waited, became a leader in Egypt. He didn't scream with joy. He didn't boast. He bowed his head in thanks. Because Yusuf knew it was not the king who saved him. It was Allah. Allah had always been with him in the well, in the palace, in the prison. Allah was the one who never forgot. Now Yusuf stood among gold and grain, palaces and power, but his heart stayed soft. He helped the people. He shared food with the hungry. He treated everyone with kindness. And one day, his own brothers would come to him hungry, poor, not knowing who he was. But that is another story. For now, the story of Yusuf ends with light, honor, and truth, because he stayed patient. He stayed pure, and Allah raised him higher than anyone could imagine. The story of Yusuf didn't end there. This was just the beginning. Subscribe and wait for more amazing Quran stories, and also share this video to spread the gospel of Allah across all nations.